the species they had oppressed over decades of expansion. They revealed classified documents showing the true cost of Carthag's aggression, millions of deaths, entire civilizations displaced, atrocities covered up by government propaganda. The Carthag's people, seeing the truth of what their government had done in their name, revolted. A new government formed, one committed to peace and restitution. The old military leadership was tried for their crimes against the myelin and other species, and humanity supervised the entire transition, ensuring it remained peaceful. The message to the galaxy was clear: attack civilians under the Guardian Protocol, and you don't just lose the battle. You lose your government, your military, and your ability to threaten anyone ever again. The galaxy's choice. 6 months after the Carthag's incident, the Galactic Assembly voted on whether to officially recognize humanity's Guardian Protocol and establish the Galactic Justice Council. The debate was fierce. Some species saw humanity as saviors who had accomplished in months what the Assembly had failed to do in centuries: enforce actual consequences for attacking civilians. Others saw them as dangerous vigilantes who had seized power without accountability. Ambassador Krell 9 stood at the central podium for what he knew will be the most important speech of his career. I have served this assembly for 200 years. I have witnessed wars, plagues, and disasters. I have seen civilizations rise and fall, but I have never seen anything like what humanity has become. He gestured to the holographic display showing footage from the Carthag's intervention. 6 months ago, I would have said that humanity's transformation was the most dangerous development in galactic history. A species that could move between dimensions, strike anywhere without warning, and remove individuals from existence was a threat to everyone. Krell 9 paused, his eye stalks focusing on each delegation. But in these 6 months, humanity has intervened in 17 separate conflicts. They've stopped 4 genocides before they could truly begin. They've prevented 6 attacks on civilian populations. They've dismantled 3 slavery operations that the Assembly didn't even know existed. And in every single case, they've acted with restraint, removing only those directly responsible for atrocities and working to establish stable, peaceful governments in the aftermath. He activated another display. More importantly, they've done exactly what they promised. They've submitted every action to review by an interim monitoring committee. They've provided complete transparency about their capabilities and limitations. They've corrected mistakes when evidence showed they were wrong. They've proven that they meant what they said about accountability. High Commander Zarneth stood. But can we trust that to continue? Power changes those who wield it. Today's benevolent protectors become tomorrow's tyrants. It's a pattern as old as civilization itself. You're absolutely right, Krell 9 agreed. That's why we need the Galactic Justice Council. Not as a token gesture, but as a real check on human power. They've given us the means to stop them if they abuse their position. The question is, do we have the courage to accept that responsibility? General Vextor processed data for 3.7 seconds before speaking. Probability analysis suggests that rejecting the Guardian Protocol will result in a 73% increase in civilian casualties from aggressive actions over the next decade. The Assembly's historical response time to atrocities averages 47 days. Humanity's average response time is 4 hours. From a purely logical standpoint, accepting their protection saves lives. Priestess Silara's light pulsed with conflicting emotions. But it feels wrong to give so much power to a single species, no matter how benevolent they seem. The alternative: his weapons couldn't lock onto them. His shields couldn't block them. And then his crew started disappearing. The human guardians phased directly onto Carthag's vessels, moving through solid hull plating as if it didn't exist. They didn't kill the crews. They simply removed them, transporting every Carthag soldier and officer to a holding facility in dimensional space. Within 2 hours, every Carthag's vessel in the invasion fleet was empty. 300 ships drifted in space, their systems intact but their crews gone. The second and third invasion fleets received warnings. Turn back now or share their fate. The Carthag's government, stunned by the loss of their entire First Fleet without a shot being fired, demanded explanations. They sent angry messages to the Galactic Assembly, accusing humanity of violating their sovereignty. Admiral Chin's response was broadcast across the galaxy. The Carthex Confederation deliberately targeted civilian populations. They killed over 50,000 innocent Mylan in their initial strikes. Under the Guardian Protocol, we intervened to prevent further loss of innocent life. The Carthex military personnel, removed from their ships, are unharmed and will be returned once the Confederation agrees to cease all hostile action against the Mylan Collective. The Carthex government refused. They declared war on humanity, demanding the return of their personnel and promising terrible retaliation. Humanity's response was swift and absolute. Every Carthex military installation across their empire went dark simultaneously. Every warship found itself crewless. Every government official involved in authorizing the attack on civilians disappeared. The Carthex Confederation's entire military and political leadership was gone in a matter of hours. But humanity didn't stop there. They appeared on every major Carthex world simultaneously, not as conquerors, but as mediators. They facilitated contact between the Carthex civilian population and, "You're making yourselves vulnerable." Yes, Admiral Chun agreed simply. That's the point. If we want the galaxy to trust us, we have to trust the galaxy first. It's a risk. Maybe it's a foolish risk, but it's the only way this works. We can't be the galaxy's protectors if everyone sees us as the galaxy's oppressors. The first test, the debate over humanity's Guardian Protocol, consumed the Galactic Assembly for weeks. Some civilizations strongly supported it, particularly those who had been victims of aggression in the past. Others opposed it on principle, arguing that no single species should have such power regardless of their stated intentions. The debate became moot 6 weeks later when the protocol faced its first real test. The Carthex Confederation was a mid-sized empire known for its aggressive territorial expansion. They had been eyeing the agricultural worlds of the peaceful Mylan Collective for years, waiting for an opportunity to seize them. When a natural disaster struck the Mylan homeworld, leaving their defenses weakened, the Carthex saw their chance. The attack came without warning. Carthex battle fleets descended on 3 Mylan colony worlds simultaneously, targeting not just military installations but population centers. Their strategy was brutal. Kill enough civilians quickly enough, and the Mylan would surrender rather than watch their people die. The Mylan government sent desperate pleas to the Galactic Assembly. Emergency sessions were called. Resolutions were proposed. Debates were scheduled. But before the Assembly could even finish arguing about proper procedures, humanity acted. The Carthex fleet commander, Admiral Torgal, was celebrating his easy victory over the first Mylan colony when his sensors detected something impossible. Ships were appearing out of nowhere around his fleet. Hundreds of them, materializing from empty space with no warning. But they weren't normal ships. They flickered between visibility and invisibility. Actions and hold us accountable. The Admiral continued. The Council will have full access to our operational records. They'll review every intervention we make. They'll have the power to investigate any accusations of abuse of power. And most importantly, they'll have the capability to sanction us if we step out of line. How? Krell 9 asked. If you exist between dimensions and possess technology beyond our understanding, how could any council sanction you? Admiral Chin's image flickered, becoming more transparent. Because we're giving you the kill switch. We've developed a quantum frequency that can disrupt our dimensional phase state. If activated, it would force every transformed human back into normal space-time and disable our ability to phase shift. We're providing this frequency to the Galactic Justice Council. If we ever abuse our power, you can end us. The chamber erupted in shocked murmurs. The humans were voluntarily giving away the one weakness in their seemingly invincible defense. Why? Demanded the Shade Speaker, materializing more fully than usual. Why would you give us such a weapon against you? Admiral Chun met the speaker's gaze steadily. Because trust has to start somewhere. Because power without restraint corrupts, absolutely. Because we're still human, and humans make mistakes. We need others to keep us honest, to remind us of our principles when we're tempted to stray from them. He gestured to the holographic display. We've already uploaded the complete technical specifications of the kill switch to the Assembly Secure database. Any civilization that joins the Justice Council will have access to it. We're betting our entire existence on the hope that the galaxy will accept us as protectors rather than conquerors. War Master Thexlar's voice came through a communication channel, one of the few Velcora not serving penance. And what if someone uses that kill switch against you out of fear or political motivation? Defensive force that will exist between dimensions. We will monitor the galaxy for threats to civilian populations. We will intervene when innocents are targeted. And we will ensure that what happened to our children never happens to anyone else's children. High Commander Zarnath stood, her claws clicking nervously. You're appointing yourselves as the galaxy's protectors? Who gave you that authority? Admiral Chen's expression hardened. The same authority that allowed the Velcora to murder 22,000 innocents while the galactic community debated and deferred. The authority of necessity. When the Assembly failed to act, we were forced to act ourselves. Now we're ensuring that no other species will have to face that choice. General Vextor processed this information with mechanical efficiency. Define your operational parameters. Under what circumstances will you intervene? The parameters are simple, Admiral Chen replied. Any deliberate attack on civilian populations, particularly children. Any systematic oppression that results in mass casualties. Any act of genocide or ethnic cleansing. Any use of weapons of mass destruction against populated areas. Those are our red lines. Cross them, and you will face humanity's judgment. Priestess Silara's light pulsed with concern. But who judges humanity? Who ensures you don't abuse this power? You've made yourselves judge, jury, and executioner. Admiral Chun was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of terrible understanding. You're right to ask that question. Power without accountability is tyranny. That's why we're proposing something unprecedented. He activated another display showing a complex organizational structure. We're establishing the Galactic Justice Council, a new body separate from the Assembly. It will be composed of representatives from every major civilization, including those we've never formally met. This council will have one purpose: to monitor humanity's harmonics that resonated across dimensions. Humanity has returned to active participation in galactic affairs. We apologize for our absence, but circumstances required our full attention elsewhere. Ambassador Krell 9 spoke for the Assembly. Admiral Chun, the galaxy has witnessed what humanity did to the Velcora Dominion. Many civilizations are concerned about the implications of their new capabilities. Some fear that humanity has become a threat greater than the Velcora ever were. Admiral Chen nodded slowly. We understand those fears. We've given ourselves the power to move between dimensions, to strike anywhere in the galaxy without warning, to remove individuals from existence without leaving a trace. That's terrifying. It should be terrifying. He paused, letting his words sink in. But we want to make something absolutely clear. We didn't develop this technology to conquer. We didn't transform ourselves to rule. We did it for one reason and one reason only: to protect the innocent. A new holographic display activated, showing a detailed schematic of what the humans were calling the Guardian Protocol. Effective immediately, humanity is establishing a permanent defensive force that will exist between dimensions. We will monitor the galaxy for threats to civilian populations. We will intervene when innocents are targeted. And we will ensure that what happened to our children never happens to anyone else's children. High Commander Zarnath stood, her claws clicking nervously. You're appointing yourselves as the galaxy's protectors? Who gave you that authority? Admiral Chen's expression hardened. The same authority that allowed the Velcora to murder 22,000 innocents while the galactic community debated and deferred. The authority of necessity. When the Assembly failed to act, we were forced to act ourselves. Now we're ensuring that no other species will have to face that choice. General Vextor processed this information with mechanical efficiency. Calthorax turned to Elena. Why? Why show us mercy after what we did? Elena met his eyes without flinching. Because someone has to break the cycle. Because if we simply killed you, we'd be teaching the galaxy that the answer to atrocity is more atrocity. Our children died, and nothing will bring them back. But maybe, just maybe, if you spend the next 5 centuries making amends, some good can come from this tragedy. Maybe you'll save a child who would otherwise have been lost. Maybe you'll prevent another species from making your mistakes. That's the only justice that actually means anything. She turned away, then paused. But make no mistake, Commander. This mercy is not weakness. It's strength. It takes strength to punish without destroying. It takes strength to demand justice without sacrificing our humanity. We remain human, even after everything you've done to us. That's what you failed to understand. You didn't make us weak by killing our children. You made us determined to ensure it never happens to anyone else's children. 3 months after the trial concluded, the Galactic Assembly received a formal communication from Earth. It was the first official message humanity had sent since going silent, and every civilization gathered to hear what humanity had to say. The message came in the form of a holographic transmission from the newly established Human Dimensional Command. The speaker was Admiral James Chun, brother of Prosecutor Elena Vasquez, and one of the first humans to undergo the Phantom Step transformation. His image appeared before the assembly, and representatives gasped at what they saw. Admiral Chun still looked human, but there was something different about him. His form seemed to exist in layers, as if multiple versions of him occupied the same space simultaneously. His eyes held depths that suggested he could see far more than normal three-dimensional reality. Members of the Galactic Assembly, he began, his voice carrying. Most of the Velcora remained silent or offered hollow justifications about following orders. But a very few, broke down and expressed genuine remorse. They were the ones who truly understood the magnitude of their crimes. When the evidence phase concluded, Elena stood before the court one final time. We could execute every defendant here. The evidence warrants it. The laws of war support it. Our pain demands it. But we won't. A murmur of surprise rippled through the gallery. Even the Velcora defendants looked confused. We won't execute you, Elena continued, because death would be too easy. Instead, you will live. You will live for a very, very long time. The humans have developed life extension technology as a side effect of our dimensional research. We're going to use it on you. She let that sink in before continuing. Each of you will live for at least 500 years. And for every single day of those 500 years, you will serve. You will rebuild what you destroyed. You will work in orphanages across the galaxy, caring for children who have lost their parents. You will teach others about the consequences of your choices. You will dedicate your existence to protecting the innocent. Elena's voice hardened. And if you refuse, if you try to escape, if you attempt to harm anyone else, then we will bring you back here and you will face the one punishment that truly terrifies your species. We will erase you from history. Every record of your existence will be removed. Your names will be forgotten. It will be as if you never existed at all. For a species as proud as yours, that is a fate worse than death. The verdict was rendered by a jury composed of representatives from every major galactic civilization. Guilty on all counts. Sentence: 500 years of service to the innocent, monitored by human dimensional guardians who would ensure compliance. As the Velcora defendants were led away to begin their sentences, Supreme Commander. Assembly representatives watching the broadcast turned away. Some civilizations stopped the feed, unable to watch. But the humans forced the Velcora defendants to witness every moment. We present evidence of 7 separate attacks on civilian targets, Elena continued. We present the names of 22,347 humans killed. We present their faces, their stories, their dreams that will never be realized. For 6 hours, she methodically documented every crime. She showed surveillance footage from the colony ships as they were destroyed. She played audio recordings of distress calls that went unanswered. She read the names of every single child who had died, along with their ages and what they had hoped to be when they grew up. Supreme Commander Calthorax, forced to watch from his defendant's chair, finally broke. Enough. We understand what we did. We are soldiers. Execute us if you must, but end this torture. Elena turned to him with eyes that held no mercy. Torture? You want to talk about torture? Let me tell you about torture, Commander. Torture is getting a message that your 8-year-old daughter's ship was attacked. Torture is spending 3 days hoping she somehow survived, even though you know she couldn't have. Torture is having to explain to your 6-year-old son why his sister isn't coming home. That's torture, Commander. This is just truth. She gestured to the gallery where thousands of human observers sat. Parents who had lost children, siblings who had lost brothers and sisters, friends who had lost loved ones. Every person in this courtroom lost someone to your attacks. We're not here for revenge. We're here for justice. And justice demands that you understand the full weight of what you've done. The trial continued for 3 weeks. Every piece of evidence was presented. Every victim was remembered. Every defendant was given the chance to speak in their own defense. Analysis indicates the humans are constructing something in orbit around the former Velcora capital world, a massive structure that defies conventional physics. Energy requirements suggest it draws power directly from subspace itself. Priestess Ilara's light pulsed with concern. What could they possibly be building? The answer came 3 days later when the structure activated. It wasn't a weapon. It was a courthouse. The Temporal Justice Hall, as the humans called it, existed partially outside normal space-time. It could be seen from any point in the galaxy if you knew how to look for it. A crystalline structure that refracted light from dimensions that shouldn't exist, creating aurora effects that rippled across the night sky of hundreds of worlds. Inside the hall, the humans had assembled every Velcora who had participated in the attacks, not as prisoners in cells, but as defendants in a courtroom that operated on principles that merged human law with something far more fundamental: the universe's own laws of causality and consequence. The trial was broadcast across every communication channel in the galaxy. No civilization could avoid seeing it. No government could censor it. The humans had ensured that everyone would witness what happened when you crossed the line from warfare into atrocity. The lead prosecutor was a human woman named Elena Vasquez. Her daughter had been on the school ship. She stood before the assembled Velcora defendants with a calm that was more terrifying than any rage. "You stand accused," she began, her voice carrying across dimensions, "not just of murder, but of the deliberate targeting of children. You didn't attack military installations. You didn't strike at our defenses. You killed our innocents because you thought it would make us weak. You thought our love for our children was a vulnerability you could exploit." She activated a holographic display that showed each attack in excruciating detail. The galactic, where time moved differently, where they would wait for their judgment. When the Dominion's emergency response team arrived at the Eternal Dominance Fortress station an hour later, they found it exactly like all the other sites. Fully functional. Completely empty. And on every screen, a message was playing on loop. It showed footage from the attack on the human school ship. Children's faces frozen in terror as Velcora weapons tore through their vessel. The cries of young voices calling for parents who would never answer. The final moments of innocents who had done nothing wrong except be born human. Below the footage, text scrolled in every known galactic language. This is what the Velcora Dominion did. This is why we came for them. This is why justice demanded more than words. Let every civilization in the galaxy remember: harm the innocent, and there is no place in this universe where you can hide. The Reckoning. The Galactic Assembly convened an emergency session for the 3rd time in as many weeks. This time, there was no debate about whether to get involved. The situation had evolved far beyond anything they had experienced before. Ambassador Krell 9 stood at the central podium, his eye stalks focused on the holographic data streaming in from across the galaxy. The Velcora Dominion has effectively ceased to exist as a functioning government. Over 200,000 individuals have been removed from their society, every person who had any involvement in the attacks on human colonies. High Commander Zerneth's reptilian features showed a mix of horror and something that might have been respect. Has there been any contact from the humans? Any demands? Any explanation beyond those messages they left behind? Nothing, Krell 9 replied. They continue to operate in complete silence. But we've been monitoring energy signatures across Velcora's space. The humans aren't finished yet. General Vextor processed data streams with mechanical precision. But everyone could feel it, a presence in the room. Something watching, something waiting. A voice emanated from the shadows, speaking perfect Velcora. Supreme Commander Calthorax, you gave the order to attack our colonies. You authorized the strikes against civilian targets. You personally approved the attack on the school ship carrying our children. Calthorax whirled, trying to locate the speaker, but the voice seemed to come from everywhere. Show yourself. Fight with honor. A hollow laugh echoed through the chamber. Honor? You murdered children and claimed it demonstrated strength. You don't get to lecture us about honor. Figures began materializing around the room. Dozens of them, their forms flickering between solidity and transparency. They surrounded the Velcora War Council, cutting off all exits. Each figure radiated cold purpose. We've already taken everyone else involved in the attacks, the voice continued. Your raiders, your pilots, your tactical officers. They're all gone. You're the last ones left. The architects of our children's deaths. War Master Thexlar fired his weapon at the nearest figure. The plasma bolt passed through harmlessly. What are you going to do to us? His voice cracked with fear. You're going to stand trial, another voice said, this one belonging to a figure that resolved into something more clearly human, a woman whose eyes burned with cold fury. Every civilization in this galaxy will know what you did. They'll know the names of the children you killed. They'll see the evidence of your crimes, and they'll watch as justice is served. We are soldiers, Calthorax roared. We followed the warrior code of our people. Your warrior code is barbarism dressed in military uniform, the woman replied. And it ends today. The shadows moved with impossible speed. Before any of the Velcora could react, they felt themselves being pulled into darkness. Not death, but something worse. A space between spaces where time moved D. Kinetic bombardment, biological agents, even experimental quantum disruptors. Nothing works. Science Director Mixton stepped forward, his posture showing the Velcora equivalent of resignation. Supreme Commander, I've been analyzing the energy signatures left behind at attack sites. The humans have developed technology that allows them to exist in a state of quantum superposition. They're simultaneously in our dimension and outside it. They can interact with our reality when they choose, but we cannot interact with them unless they allow it. That's impossible, Calthorax snapped. No species has that capability. Our scientists said such technology would require energy levels equivalent to a small star. The humans apparently found a way, Mixton replied. And there's something else. Based on the patterns of disappearances, they're not attacking randomly. They're working from a list. They're taking specific individuals, military personnel who participated in the raids against human colonies, government officials who authorized the attacks, intelligence officers who planned them. They know exactly who they're looking for. Commander Zwaxtar, who had been silent throughout the meeting, finally spoke. We have one option remaining. We could contact the Galactic Assembly, request their intervention. Surely even they wouldn't condone this kind of systematic elimination of our people. Calthorax's mandibles clicked in anger. Beg for help from the weak civilizations we plan to conquer? Never. The Velcora bowed to no one. Then we will cease to exist, Mixton said quietly. Because the humans are not conducting a war. They're conducting an extermination. And they have the technology, the determination, and the moral certainty to see it through to the end. As if to punctuate his words, the lights in the command chamber flickered. Every Velcora in the room raised their weapons, their multiple eyes scanning for threats. The lights stabilized. They found the station fully functional. Power running normally. Life support systems operational. No damage to any systems. but every single person was gone. The only evidence of what had happened was a message left on the main display screen in the command center, written in perfect Velcora script. You killed 22,347 of our people. We know the name of every single one. We know the names of everyone who gave the orders, everyone who carried them out, everyone who covered it up. We are coming for all of you. You cannot hide. You cannot fight what you cannot touch. And we will not stop until justice is served. Over the next 14 days, the pattern repeated across the entire Velcora Dominion. Military installations went dark. Government facilities were found empty. Even the heavily defended capital world began experiencing disappearances. Supreme Commander Calthorax watched his empire crumbling in real time from his fortress station. Reports flooded in from every sector. Outposts losing personnel. Ships finding their sister vessels drifting in space with no crew aboard. Entire military academies evacuated of students and instructors alike. And always, the same message left behind. We are coming for you. How many have we lost? Calthorax demanded at the Emergency War Council. War Master Thexlar's 4 hands shook as he presented the numbers. Current estimates suggest we've lost over 70,000 personnel across all military and government facilities. The rate of disappearances is accelerating. At this pace, the entire Dominion's leadership structure will be gone within a month. And our military response? Calthorax's voice carried a desperate edge now. Ineffective, Thexlar admitted, his armored carapace dulling with shame. We cannot fight what we cannot see. Our weapons pass through these entities as if they don't exist in normal space. Our sensors detect them only after they've already struck. We tried everything: plasma weapons, deeper shadows, shadows that existed in layers, as if reality itself had depth that normal eyes couldn't perceive. From those shadows, figures began to emerge. They looked almost human, but they moved in ways that human bodies shouldn't move. They phased through solid walls. They flickered between visibility and invisibility. Their eyes glowed with a cold light that seemed to see not just physical space, but something deeper, something fundamental. Vorn AKS fired his plasma rifle at the nearest figure. The superheated bolt passed through it as if it weren't there. The figure continued advancing, unharmed and unstoppable. "What are you?" Vorn AKS demanded, his voice carrying the authority of command even in the face of the impossible. One of the figures spoke, and its voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere, echoing across dimensions that Vorn AKS's brain couldn't fully comprehend. "We're the ones you killed. We are the fathers and mothers of the children you murdered. We are humanity, and we have come to collect what you owe." Vorn AKS felt something he had never experienced before in his entire military career. Pure, primal fear. This is a military installation. We are protected by the laws of war. We are soldiers following orders. Another figure spoke, this one's voice carrying a feminine tone that somehow made it more terrifying. "You killed our children. You don't get to hide behind military law. You don't get to claim you were following orders. You took everything from us, so we took everything from you. We're not here to kill you. Death will be mercy. We're here to make sure you understand what you've done." The shadows moved faster than Velcora nervous systems could process. The command center crew didn't have time to scream before they were gone, pulled into dimensions of darkness where the normal rules of reality didn't apply. When the Dominion sent an investigation team to Frontier Station Kex 3 days later, it was as if they had simply ceased to exist. "This is impossible," Vorn AKS said, his 4 hands clenching into fists. "People don't just disappear from a secure military installation. There has to be an explanation." His security chief, Lieutenant KYR Tun, displayed the security footage from multiple locations. "Commander, you need to see this." The footage showed various locations throughout the station. In each clip, personnel were going about their duties normally. Then, in each case, the lights would flicker briefly. When they stabilized, the people were gone. In a few clips, if you slowed the footage down and enhanced the image, you could see something else. Shadows that moved wrong. Darkness that seemed to have depth and substance. Shapes that were almost human, but not quite. existing at the edge of perception. What am I looking at? Vornakeus demanded. KYR Tun's voice shook slightly. I don't know, Commander. Whatever it is, it's taking our people. And our sensors can't detect it until it's too late. By 0700 hours, the station had lost over 200 personnel. The remaining crew had barricaded themselves in the command center, weapons trained on every entrance. They sent emergency transmissions to the Dominion High Command, reporting an attack by unknown forces. But their messages sounded desperate and incoherent. Talk of shadows that moved, invisible attackers, people vanishing into thin air. High Command assumed the station crew was experiencing some kind of mass hallucination or psychological breakdown. At 0730 hours, the lights in the command center flickered. Captain Vornakeus gripped his plasma rifle tighter, his 4 eyes scanning every corner of the room. Nobody panic. We are Velcora. We are the apex predators of this galaxy. Whatever is happening, we will overcome it. The lights stabilized. For a moment, everything seemed normal. Then the shadows began to move. Not the natural shadows cast by the room's lighting, but something else. The diagnostic came back clean. The power fluctuations stopped. Everything returned to normal. At 0445 hours, a maintenance technician in Sector 7 reported to his supervisor. I'm getting weird echoes on the motion sensors. Keep seeing phantom readings that disappear when I go to investigate. His supervisor checked the logs. Sensors are functioning normally. You're probably just tired. Get some stimulants from medical and finish your shift. The technician shrugged and continued his rounds. He never reached the next checkpoint. At 0500 hours, the mess hall supervisor prepared breakfast for the incoming day's shift. She was alone in the kitchen, as was normal for this time of day. She thought she saw movement in her peripheral vision, a shadow that seemed too dark, too solid. When she turned to look, nothing was there. She felt a sudden chill despite the kitchen's warmth. Then the lights went out. When they came back on 3 seconds later, she was gone. At 0530 hours, the day's shift began arriving for duty. Slowly, personnel across the station began noticing that certain colleagues weren't responding to communications. At first, it seemed like a few people were late or had overslept. But as the minutes passed, the number of missing personnel grew. By 0600 hours, Captain Vornakeus realized something was seriously wrong. He initiated a station-wide head count. The results were impossible. 147 personnel unaccounted for. Nearly half the station's complement had vanished in less than 90 minutes. Lock down the station, Vornakeus ordered. Security teams, conduct a full sweep of all sectors. I want every room, every corridor, every maintenance tunnel searched. Find our people. The security teams reported back within the hour. They had searched every accessible area of the station. They had found no one. No bodies, no signs of struggle, no indication of where the missing personnel had gone. Their silence is the silence of the defeated. Mixton persisted. But our sensors also detect strange energy readings from human space. Patterns we don't recognize. It might be wise to conduct additional reconnaissance before committing to a full invasion. Caution is for the weak, Calthorax declared. We have demonstrated our superiority. The humans have shown their weakness. There's nothing more to analyze. Prepare the invasion fleets. We will strike in 14 days and add human territory to the Dominion. As the War Council dispersed to begin invasion preparations, none of them noticed the faint shimmer in the corner of the command chamber. A distortion so subtle that even Velcora sensors, designed to detect threats across multiple spectrums, registered nothing. If they had looked closer, if their instruments had been calibrated to detect phenomena that shouldn't exist, they might have seen the outline of something humanoid. They might have noticed the way space itself seemed to bend slightly around a presence that was there and not there simultaneously. They might have recognized that they were already being hunted, but they didn't look. And by the time they realized their mistake, it would be far too late. Frontier Station Kex 7 was the Velcora Dominion's outermost military outpost, positioned to monitor approaches from the galactic core. It housed 300 soldiers, scientists, and support personnel, along with enough weaponry to destroy a small fleet. The station commander, Captain Vornik, ran a tight operation, conducting regular drills and maintaining constant vigilance. At 0430-hour station time, the night shift security officer noticed something odd. "Commander, we're experiencing minor fluctuations in the power grid. Nothing critical, but the pattern is unusual." Vornik reviewed the data from his command chair. "Probably just interference from the local stellar phenomenon. Run a full diagnostic to be safe, including their military personnel, civilians, and their offspring." The last strike against their school vessel was particularly effective at demonstrating their vulnerability. Calthorax felt a surge of satisfaction. In Velcora culture, the willingness to strike at an enemy's young demonstrated strength and determination. The weak protected their offspring. The strong understood that total war meant total targets. The humans sent pathetic distress calls, Calthorax continued. They begged for help from their precious galactic assembly. And when no help came, they simply gave up. This confirms our analysis. They're a species of talkers, not fighters. Perfect subjects for our expanding dominion. War Master Thexlar, the Dominion's chief military strategist, activated another display. "Supreme Commander, I recommend we accelerate our timeline. With the humans cowed, we should strike now while the galactic community is still debating how to respond. I prepared an invasion plan for the human core worlds. We can have their home system under our control within 3 months." Calthorax studied the invasion plans with his primary eyes while his secondary eyes scanned the resource projections. The humans occupied dozens of worlds with valuable resources. Their technology, while inferior to Velcora military hardware, showed interesting applications in civilian sectors. Their population could be put to work in Velcora factories and mines. It was perfect. "One question," said Science Director Mixton, the only voice of caution in the room. "Why did the humans go completely silent? Our intelligence networks showed no communication traffic from their space at all, not even internal communications between their own worlds. That seems unusual for a species that typically broadcasts constantly." Calthorax dismissed the concern with a wave of his upper left arm. "Obviously, they're in disarray, leaderless, frightened, unable to coordinate a response, and planning their eventual expansion into what they considered soft, decadent space." Supreme Commander Calthorax stood in his command chamber aboard the Fortress Station Eternal Dominance, reviewing reports from his reconnaissance division. His species stood nearly 3 meters tall, with armored exoskeletons that had evolved to resist their home world's intense radiation and crushing gravity. His 4 arms ended in claws that could rend steel, and his eyes could see across multiple spectrums simultaneously. He was the perfect predator, and he knew it. "Status report," he commanded, his voice resonating with the authority of one who had never known defeat. His intelligence officer, Commander Zwaxtar, stepped forward and activated the holographic display. "Supreme Commander, our analysis of the galactic community continues to show promising results. The core civilizations are bureaucratic, slow to act, and divided by endless debates and political considerations. They pose no immediate threat to our expansion plans." Calthorax's mandibles clicked with satisfaction. "And what of the humans? Our test strikes against their colonies should have provoked some response by now." ZYXStar's display showed the 7 attack sites where Velcora raiders had struck human settlements over the past 6 months. The humans initially attempted to rally the Galactic Assembly against us. When that failed, they went silent. Our intelligence suggests they have withdrawn to their core worlds in fear. Their communications have ceased entirely. "Fear," Calthorax repeated, savoring the word. "Excellent. Fear is the beginning of submission. The humans have proven themselves weak, emotional creatures unable to mount an effective defense. They talk endlessly about peace and cooperation, but crumble when faced with real military power." He gestured to the tactical display. "How many humans did we eliminate in our test raids?" "Approximately 22,000, ZYXStar replied. "They've developed something new, something terrible. They call it Project Phantom Step. It's a technology that allows them to phase partially out of normal space-time, existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously. It makes them invisible to conventional sensors, untouchable by normal weapons, and it allows them to travel vast distances almost instantaneously. Her voice dropped to a whisper. They're not hiding. They're hunting. Every single human, all 32 billion of them, has undergone the phantom step transformation. They've turned their entire civilization into an army of interdimensional ghosts. And they're not going to stop until every last Velcora who hurt their people is dead. The transmission ended. The emergency session of the Galactic Assembly sat in stunned silence, processing the implications. Finally, the Shade speaker manifested more fully than anyone had ever seen. We know where the Velcora Dominion is located. We've been tracking them for years. And based on their recent communications, which we intercepted 3 hours ago, they don't yet realize what's coming for them. The speaker's voice carried a note of grim satisfaction. The Velcora are about to learn the hardest lesson in galactic history. You can attack humans. You can fight humans. You can even kill humans. But if you kill their children, you don't just make enemies. You create monsters. And those monsters will follow you to the ends of the universe and beyond. The Velcora Dominion stretched across 17 star systems on the far edge of the galactic rim, a militaristic empire built on conquest and domination. Their species had evolved on a harsh world where only the strong survived, and they had carried that philosophy with them to the stars. To the Velcora, the galaxy was divided into two categories, the strong who ruled and the weak who served. They had watched the galactic community for decades, studying its members, identifying weaknesses. He had been there for the debate. The assembly voted to defer action, he said quietly. We decided that we needed more evidence, that we couldn't commit to military action based on human testimony alone, that we needed to send our own investigators first, which would take months. Exactly, Dr. Keelaris said. And while the assembly debated and deferred and discussed, the Velcora attacked again, and again, and again. 7 attacks in total. Over 20,000 humans dead, including an entire school ship carrying children to a new educational facility. Her voice went cold. The humans didn't come back to the assembly after that. They stopped asking for help. They stopped sending requests. And 3 weeks ago, they went completely silent because they realized the truth. When your children are being murdered, you don't wait for bureaucracy to save you. You save yourself. Dr. Keelara transmitted one final file. I found their operational plans. I know what they're doing. They've developed something new. Something terrible. They call it Project Phantom Step. It's a technology that allows them to phase partially out of normal space-time, existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously. You save yourself. Dr. Keelara transmitted one final file. I found their operational plans. I know what they're doing. They've developed something new. Something terrible. They call it Project Phantom Step. It's a technology that allows them to phase partially out of normal space-time, existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously. You save yourself. Dr. Keelara transmitted one final file. I found their operational plans. I know what they're doing. They've developed something new. Something terrible. They call it Project Phantom Step. It's a technology that allows them to phase partially out of normal space-time, existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously. You save yourself. Dr. Keelara transmitted one final file. I found their operational plans. I know what they're doing. Ambassador Krell 9 had served the Unified Galactic Assembly for over 2 centuries, and in all that time, he had never felt true fear. He had negotiated peace between warring empires, survived assassination attempts, and witnessed the birth and death of entire civilizations. But nothing had prepared him for the moment when his communication officer burst into his chambers at 0300 hours, all 4 of his eye stalks trembling with panic. Ambassador, we have a situation. A critical one. Krell 9 set down his morning nutrition paste and activated his holographic display. What he saw made his 3 hearts skip a beat simultaneously. The entire human sector of space, spanning 53 colonized worlds, 12 major space stations, and countless smaller outposts, had gone completely silent. Not just quiet, silent. The communication frequencies that usually buzzed with human chatter, their endless digital transmissions, their quantum network traffic, their radio waves carrying everything from government communications to entertainment broadcasts, all of it had stopped at exactly the same moment. The galactic monitoring systems showed the timestamp, 2,247 hours Galactic Standard Time. One moment, human space had been its usual chaotic symphony of noise and activity. The next moment, nothing. Absolute silence. Krell 9 is primary eye stalk, focused on the communication officer. Has there been any response to our inquiries? The officer's skin color shifted to a pale blue, indicating distress. We've sent over 300 direct communication attempts to Earth, New Terra, Mars Colony, the Centauri settlements, even their deep space vessels. Nothing comes back. Not even automated responses. Krell 9 felt that familiar cold sensation in his central nervous cluster, the one he always experienced when dealing with humans, and something unexpected happened. In his experience, when humans did something unexpected, it usually meant someone was about to have a very bad day.